So welcome everyone to the Tech Learning webinar series on June 16, 2020. Thank you for Skillnet to having us here today. I'm joined with Claudia and we'll be talking about including diversity for unbiased technology design. So a little bit of ourselves before we really enter the core of this session. I'm Alessandra Saleh. I'm leading the Analytics Research Division at Nokia Bell Labs, which is the research arm of Nokia. And I'm also the Women in AI ambassador in Ireland. So with Nokia, I'm leading this research group on analytics. I'm also part of the Nokia AI Ethics Advisory Board. It's roughly 10 years that I'm doing research both in academia before, when I was in California for 5 years, and then in industry. But also in the local ecosystem, I'm trying to be part of this great technological era in Ireland, where there are company, university, and government which are coming together to really do something different in the local ecosystem. I'm part of the board of CEDAR, and I met Skillnet 3 years ago, I think, at this point, where they launched the design of the first national AI master in Ireland. And I was part of this group who designed the master, and ever since have remained close with this community. As part of Women in AI, I'm joined with Claudia. Claudia is an education lead for Women in AI, but in her main job, she's the global operation learning tech and infrastructure manager at PayPal. So Claudia has a huge knowledge and experience in design, development, and implementation of learning technology, edtech platforms, learning programs, and both in private sector and in high schools. She's focused on addressing inequalities in AI through education and enterprise activity. And the things that she will address today within this seminar are really core for this mission of addressing inequality in AI through educational programs. So what's Women in AI? Women in AI is a nonprofit organization, and it's working along the world towards gender inclusion in AI for the benefit of the global society. The mission is to increase female representation and participation in AI in all aspects of this technology. So as a community, it's present in more than 100 countries. So we have more than 3,500 members and more than 30 ambassadors around different countries. So it's really the first global community of women professionals and experts in AI, with this core mission of creating a strong community with no geographical boundaries. So which are the key activities? They are mainly for creating a community, sponsor events to connect with this community, educational programs, and also research and publication. So at the core of this community, there is a strong interest in using the latest research technology and using fact-based information to unveil new opportunity to bring AI more and to create a more accessible AI path for everyone. Here in Ireland, we have run already 3 events. One to really open up the doors to many more people and really show the new opportunities that anyone can have in AI. One really focused on ethics and how to design AI products in an ethical way. And the third one was around healthcare and how COVID-19 has created this pivotal moment around healthcare, and new opportunity for AI technology are now resulting very important to respond to emergencies. New event that we are planning, the intersection between art and AI, how the future of money from blockchain to new banks concept are evolving, e-learning with AI and for AI, which is being part of many people's lives as we know it today, and also an event for female entrepreneurs. But what's really special about the community in Ireland are 3 new programs that we are testing and launching in the local ecosystem, and then we hope to expand in other women in AI community in other countries. So the first one is AI for Equality. This one in particular is done in collaboration with the Sweden government, and the Sweden government had this question. And it brought to the Sweden Women in AI ambassador, which then came to me to work together on this project. And it was really to answer the question, can AI technology be used to drive increasing gender equality instead of what we'll see even later in this presentation, how it is used today to sometimes create inequality opportunity. And the key topics here are unpaid work, female violence, uneven funding for entrepreneur, and so on. So all aspect of gender equality and how AI technology can help us to overcome some of those issues. Be Amazing program is this idea to feature community members and to give them an opportunity to highlight some of their special skills and abilities and to help them to initiate a stronger connection with the community and create a bigger network, which is one of the things that usually is a roadblock for female career, women career in tech. And the third one, which we'll talk about a little bit more today, it's learning AI. So our educational program, which has really mainly 2 streams, one to create a community within university for fresh women and to create their own network to support the transition between college and university, but also to use this young and energetic student to connect back to their high school everywhere in the country and being their role model for the younger generation. And also an educational program for people with already degrees or already in their career that they want cross-skill or upskill. And Claudia will tell us much more about this. So, but really, why are we doing all of this? Why do we believe women in AI and the effort that we are putting in this community is meaningful? Let's take a step back and observe reality. So humans are not perfect yet. More than 118 human biases have been defined and classified, and any one of these does affect the way we take decisions. So the reality is that those human biases are who we are. For example, and how we behave in companies or in our work environment. In-group bias, for example. So is the tendency to favor our own groups, our own members, and to have the favoring of in-group tends to be more pronounced than even the rejection for out-group. But those things may be stronger when we put those groups to work together. So being aware of this bias can facilitate collaboration across different groups. So understanding this bias is very important to create effective working environment. Or reactance bias, which is the bias that when we are faced with something that is against our own thinking, instead of using our thinking ability to compare and to use multiple perspectives to think better, we sometimes react in an opposite way, and we get even more anchored and stronger on our own thoughts. So why all those biases really matter? Because they form who we are, how we take decisions, and how we behave. So now let's the numbers speak and see what those biases have resulted to. 22% of women directors in UK, unchanged for the past 2 decades. Some change we have seen in Latin American and Black in 2019. And if we compare to 2014, so a 5 years period, we went from 1% to 3%. So I would say, yes, a change, but actually a small one. And this is true today. This is true. But then if we look at what we are doing in those enterprises, a Gardner Report says that in the last 4 years, 2015, 2019, we had 270% increase of AI technology who has skyrocketed into new product, obviously leaving open the doubt and the commitment to insurance equality, which is not even represented within those enterprises. So when we do not tackle some of our core issue as human, because we all have those biases, and we bring new innovation, what does it happen? So in the last few years, we have observed some unintended consequences. So AI bias has been found in many products and in many solutions, from AI recruiting, where female candidates were advertised with lower position than men candidates, facial recognition that in general has a very high accuracy, but if you take minority, Black people or Black female, even worse, the accuracy is dramatically low. And even if we use, if we just takes the way advertisements are made or articles are written, there is some strong gender traits in the way we use language. So there is a huge difference between the language that female use versus men. So those things have been going on for many years, but then society happened to hit a critical point and something pivot radically. Today we are facing a humanity that is stepping out of the critical trajectory where we were on, and is asking to reassess and to fix some of those problems that we had observed as scientists, as journalists, both in industry, in academia, in our social lives, but no one had really addressed. And today we are faced with this transition moment where the future that we are about to undertake can be dramatically different, both from a social perspective and a technological perspective. So it's incredible to see that big companies are standing back and are taking immediate action facial recognition technology is a multi-billion industry. And companies like Amazon, IBM, and Microsoft have put on hold their technology, mainly for the one that was used from police department and law enforcement. So the research had demonstrated that those face recognition technology had some important bias problem, and privacy was not even considered in many jurisdictions and countries, which are different from place to place. And today, big companies, putting their revenue on the line, are taking an important step to fix some of those problems that have been observed for years. This is happening at a global scale. So in the last couple of years, we have seen the European Union with a high-level expert working on the ethical principle of trustworthy AI. Many other organizations, civil society, private sector, and government, and really multi-stakeholder ecosystem has been paying attention on what it means to integrate ethical principle into AI. So I'm referring here this specific paper because it overviews in a very simple way 36 kind of document, and it really highlights all the important dimensions. So the guideline that we have seen in the coming from the European Union really say that ethical and trustworthy AI has to stand upon three main principles. It has to be lawful, ethical, and trustworthy, and fair. If we go one level down, the main themes about the ethical principle on AI are those 8-1. So privacy, accountability, safety and security, transparency and explainability. We need to know why those models suggest the decision or the recommendation that they do. Fairness and non-discrimination, which is strictly linked with the bias concept, which we are discussing today. Human control of the technology, having human in the loop, professional responsibility, and promotion of human value. So, just to conclude what I have said so far, AI has the potential to change our business, to change our economy, to bring new opportunity for social challenges, and also the ability we can use this technology to tackle human biases. But at the very center of this technological revolution, we need to make sure that people trust this system to produce unbiased result and give fair opportunity to everyone. So AI can help human bias, but only if we work together to tackle bias in AI. And because of this very core principle, we have designed this educational, our solution to this problem is through a new educational program, which Claudia will discuss. And she will tell us how we are trying to do in human and AI.
As Ali has gone through, examples illustrating how AI can reproduce and maintain bias and highlighted why we need to diversify AI talent. When starting to design a learning program, it was important for us to know who the audience is, right? And personally, I found the term AI talent to be a bit ambiguous. So the first thing was to break it down. And so breaking this down meant thinking about what AI really was. I'm not sure if there's a definition, a clear definition out there. So if there is, please send it to me later. But in this context, in the context of our learning program, AI talent refers to people with the skills and knowledge around statistical modeling, big data computation, ethical and legal design of technologies, human behavior, racial literacy, privacy, and but also people leadership of teams who are doing this work and managing of the work they are doing. So all of these things fell into that bucket of AI talent. And so when we think then about those who are near AI talent, it will be those who have a subset of those skills and are usually from a technical background of some sort. And so they have some sort of computational degree or technical degree or engineering degree. And then on the other hand, non-near AI talent would be everybody else. And most importantly, everybody else, but with the interest, attitude, and capacity to learn and grow in this space. So ultimately, if you we reckon that even if you plan to leave the world of work soon, learning about AI is still important because it is out there in society, it affects all of us. And so knowing what policies and regulations are necessary is useful for anybody. So when we started to look at the current state of the educational offerings available, the programs that are available, and that was a Google search shown on the screen there. We have accredited university courses, usually at postgraduate level, and then we have professional training programs. The minimum entry for this is an honors degree in an appropriate technology program, undergrad program, or equivalent work experience, right? So there's nothing really for non-near AI talent. And then with this being at the postgrad level, there's also not a clear visibility into what a kid or a girl in secondary school might be thinking about when she's looking at, thinking of the world of AI. And because she doesn't see postgrad straight away, she's thinking of what's right in front of her. And so we understand that talent can be found in less traditional places as well, because, and women are trying to balance a few different things around work and life and in general. So we wanted to make sure that whatever we designed took all this into consideration. So whether it's cross-scaling or upscaling, it was something that we took into consideration. We also understood that not everybody is going to be a developer of AI solutions, but we need people with product management skills, project management skills, and people who are experts in other domains and then want to build an AI expertise to be able to innovate in those domains and lead innovations in their spaces or their disciplines. And then we wanted to attract younger women, like I said, who are still in secondary school and thereabouts to AI learning paths. And so in summary, what we were trying to do was to fill a gap that we saw for flexible programs that is responsive to the needs of women and provides ongoing support throughout the learning journey. And so our educational program goals, right, since the main challenge of is shortage of talent, and in particular diversity in talent, it seemed logical that we would use education to close this gap, right? And by doing so, make sure that we're engaging and educating a diverse range of women. So we deliberately seek to make sure that the women we reach out to, we attract and all, are from a diversity of backgrounds. And from diversity of backgrounds, I don't mean just, nationality or race, but this is different backgrounds in terms of their skills and their talents and their interests today. Because like we said earlier, AI requires a multiplicity of all of this diversity to actually make it work. And we are supporting both non-near AI then and near AI. And so our mission then is to create programs that support women to build competence and add value in the AI, artificial intelligence domain by creating access to learning opportunities and a community for support. And the program addresses technical skills, which are really important, but also the soft skills that this requires. And so on this slide now, this is just an overview of what the educational model looks like. There are three main components. And this is work in progress. But our goal is to become a community of practice. And a community of practice is a group of people who share a common concern or passion for something that they do, learn to do it better as they interact regularly. So it's essentially grounded in how adults, most of the time, learn by interweaving social elements along with knowledge acquisition and then resulting in shared resources. There are three main components as is shown on the screen. So the first one being a defined domain of shared interest. In our case, this is artificial intelligence, along with the navigation of work and economic participation of women. The second component then would be a community. I know it's last there, but community, which is essentially, a group of people that are bonded in their interest and in their learning. So those two things, the interest and learning, are ongoing regardless of what level you are in the community. We do this by facilitating building relationships. And we also, this also includes organizations who we partner with. And then the third component there is the practice, which is in the middle on the slide. And the practice comes as a result of all of the learning and the knowledge that is being built and is evidenced in terms of the resources we produce, the best practice we produce, and, artifacts produced as well through the course of learning. What this model does then is it allows us to democratize AI education to the extent that regardless of what level the learner is, they will be able to find a path in our program that takes them to where they want to go, whether it's into higher education to go then pursue, the master's level course, or whether it is because they want to get skills to build a solution themselves, or whether they're already at that, at a higher level and are looking to, cross-scale into another area. And so in this, what this also entails is using a whole range of tools. So we would have instructor-led learning. We would have online learning modules. We would have seminars. We would have mentoring and coaching, and then access to role models, providing spaces for reflection and sharing practice amongst the experts and those who are learning. We'll be taking advantage, of course, of technology platforms and technologies as they exist today. And, where possible, we will use AI if need be. And then I think at this point, not all of these are necessarily ready today, but we are working on implementing our first instructor-led classes very soon. And this will be announced on our social media pages. But in the meantime, we are really, really focused on building our community. One of our first partnerships is AI for EU, where we are working to bring those instructor-led courses along with support from our community to our members. And on that note, I will open up for questions and comments.
I do have a question for you, Claudia. I really love the presentation and the description of this educational program. And I was thinking, which are the key challenges for women to upskill or cross-skill? Why don't we see a higher percentage of people or female and women in their early career or middle career, which can undertake those upskill or cross-skill opportunity? What do you think is the roadblock?
I think there are many. So for women who are already working in these spaces, when you look in the AI spaces, you see mostly men. And I'm sorry, no offense to any guys on the call, but when you see a space that is predominantly men, it doesn't necessarily seem as inviting. So especially when you're just learning and you feel that everybody else there is an expert, you want company to go with, right? And so you start to then think about who else is interested in doing something like this. But the other thing, the reality is that for women at mid-career, many of those are balancing with other things as well, whether it's family, whether it's other, whatever it might be. And so the flexibility around programs like that, or even making cross-skill, transitions.
I completely agree with you. It's this time constraint and inclusion I have a good news for you, because your question has been response from many people are providing answers here. And you can see many non-AI or non-near AI, which is beautiful, because we are designing this program for people that are actually non-near AI, just to give you enough ability to understand the technology and the techniques in a very simple and accessible way with very little time, just to really test if it's something that you may like or not. Right, Claudia? We have a strong idea on non-AI training. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, so and I see a question there from Brendan on what do we need to do to get more women engaged in the proposed AI education model without frightening talented individuals with a broad spectrum AI. One of the programs that I really like, in fact, it's the only one I've seen that is targeting non-near AI and everybody else, is the one from Finland. I think, I forget what it's called, Elements of AI. Is the title, and it goes very gently. However, it's an online program, and so we know, many of us start online programs with the best intentions and intend to finish within 2 weeks and all of that, but it doesn't always happen. There's life, right? And so if we have, for us, we would take a program like that and then create a cohort of women who are doing it together, and so you have company when you're doing it. Social learning is a big thing in the adult space. And so when you work with a group like that, you support each other, you ask questions. We have spaces where we already do that in our Slack group. And we grow together in that way. By the end of the program, the woman who might have been nervous at the beginning is no longer that nervous or frightened and has the confidence to go further in learning AI.
Claudia, there is a question from an anonymous attendee that I'd like to address, and you feel free to add anything. And the question is, I'm at the AI level. Can you elaborate on your plan of inspiring, engaging a young female student? So we are very excited because we are working on this idea of creating a structure that it grows naturally by itself. We are a small team of women in AI in Ireland. We are running community events to engage more and attract more women into the community. However, what we have thought is that our range of action, it's usually from university on, and we like to go younger into high school and so on. So our idea is to start at the fresh women when they enter the university, to help them to transition between high level and the university college degree, but also then to use their experience to go back to their high school and be a role model, which are really close to people that are finishing their high school, and then to percolate down into younger and younger generation. Because sometimes role model, when you take a person in the middle 40 and you try to be a role model for an 18 years old young girl, you may have less resonance if you had instead a 20 years old female enthusiastic about this technology that could speak the language and could have the same generational traits of the younger one. So we're really trying to be careful of providing role models that are accessible to everyone, and they don't look too far off that you don't resonate. It's not just a woman, but it needs to be a woman that resonates with you.
There's a question there, Ali, from Sean around if AI is able to replicate a human service like headhunting, does it need to be perfect or better? With more Jonathans running a PLC company in Ireland than women of any name, is inaction of AI in hiring a larger concern? So I'll take the first part of that question and then I'll leave the second part to you. And so I think if AI is able to replicate a human service like AI, it does need to be as close to perfect or better than humans. We know that humans haven't worked. We know that that has brought bias, and that's the bias we want to make sure does not get coded into AI, right? And so that means by default, we're saying it has to be better than humans. And that's the beauty as well of it. We can make it better. Now, with regards to inaction of AI in hiring being a larger concern, Alex, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, and I quickly mentioned in my slide that AI for hiring has been demonstrated a very dangerous technology because it's manifesting our own biases. And therefore, there are more men at higher level, senior level, and it's preferring those kind of profile for those positions. So it's perpetuating our own biases and the representation of the society that we have today instead of what we could build. So absolutely a technology that was designed today and the way it has been used today is very dangerous. However, as Claudia said, now that we understand those biases, and we are willing to make a difference, there is a way to use AI to overcome those human biases, to unveil those unrepresented classes, because it's a problem of not having enough data of the kind that could demonstrate the preference towards one class versus the other. So it's exploring the data, it's unveiling model parameters that are not perfectly customized for the specific problem and overcoming those limits. There is technology to do that.
Do you think COVID-19 downtime may escalate the AI introduction into business practices, and with it, the greater awareness, that went too quickly, greater awareness of the need for diversity and inclusion? Yeah, I think we're seeing that already, right? I've seen this meme going around, like, what was the prompt for your digital transformation and business or COVID-19. So I think that's happening, and it's just been accelerated for sure. I am hopeful. I really, really hope that it raises awareness of diversity and inclusion. And I think, the last 2-3 weeks as well in the media with the spotlight on Black Lives Matter has raised those questions beyond even the issues around race to other diversity and inclusion, considerations. So I would, the downtime being used, I think the downtime is probably being used to make sure business stay. And then beyond that, we will then see considerations of, okay, how do we actually then begin to work better?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Claudia, sorry. And also, there is an important aspect of COVID-19 has shown that technology can allow us to work everywhere. So technology may help more women to even enter any work environment, because many work environments are underrepresented. Has also shown that female researchers are creating less publication compared to their men colleagues, which demonstrate that female and women are taking a larger portion of what we call the unpaid work, which is reducing your ability to work long hours because now you have less support, and therefore there is a performance gap. And now we are starting to observe a person that was always publishing the same number of papers that a man colleagues and now is reduced. It means that that person is taking some other responsibility. And we need to learn how to share family and social responsibility in a more equal manner. How can we join women in AI? That's a beautiful question. Thank you, Begum. And I think, so we have womeninai.co is our global international network. We also have our LinkedIn page on Women in AI Ireland. Please feel free to join us. We want to have more people joining our community and contributing to our community. So on LinkedIn, you can find us. We have a Slack channel, and we are undertaking many activity, and we really need the help and support.
I would hope that more girls in secondary schools here in Ireland will become interested when computer science is rolled out as a living set subject for all schools. Do we need to work with third level colleges to help them tailor degree courses to meet industry needs? So I think there's two things there. So first of all, the living set subject, I would love to see that the emphasis in the computer science being a living set subject doesn't become just about passing the exam, because when it becomes that doesn't really drive the interest in the students because they just want to pass the exam. Then I would like it to be a real living subject so that they get the opportunity, even at secondary school level, to do short internships with companies and to get exposure, like the program we mentioned earlier on, where they get introduced to role models and they can see computer science come to life. With regards to working with third level colleges to help them tailor degree industry needs, definitely something I'd love to see. Might be in practice, I don't know. I think that's something we'll need to be working on. Where we are today, there's things that we can do. And whether it's more internship programs, whether it's creating opportunities where students can build solutions themselves and take them from end to end and, launch products. There's no reason they can't, have startups even in colleges. And I believe that's there's a program in Trinity or so that does something like that.
So those are brilliant questions, and we definitely will use those for our next post on Women in AI on LinkedIn, so that we can provide access to some of the information that we have, some of the material that we have. And shortly we will launch our own educational program for non-near AI talent. So for people that really wants to start to understand a little bit better, acquire the basic tool without going into the craziness of this technology, that it can be dramatically complex if you go into some of the niche development of those complex models, but it can start quite simple. So, and we really want to encourage people to take that first step, because that's the most important to take. And there are many aspects of this technology that are very enjoyable. There are those technical one and less technical one, from project management to ethical, and programs on how you can guarantee that the end-to-end process is performed through the important and rigid and regulated steps that this technology requires. So we have people with legal background which are highly interested in being part of our community, people with philosophy background that are bringing important consideration. So people from different background need to be part of the discussion, because everyone brings a different perspective, which is important to avoid, to develop technology that reproduce human bias and create unfair decision making. So as we said before, it's very important that humanity trusts this technology in order to let this technology to help us to become better.
So the question of whether there's plans to get more mature and even maybe women experienced in other industries and professions interested and enrolled in AI education programs, anybody is welcome. So we plan to work with women from experienced, mature to young. So what we want to see is interest, and so everybody is welcome.
And also, let's remember that ICT Skillnet had developed this national Master in AI program, which is an online program that is very accessible to anyone, no matter where you are, no matter how much time you have, has been designed for people already in their career. So there are 3 universities which are running this program already. Limerick, University Limerick, Dublin College University, DCU, and then NY Galway. So those are already up and running.
Yeah.
Sign up because are in high demand. And actually, industry, if you are part of a big industry, an international one, you actually should support, you should ask your company to support your upskilling or cross-skilling opportunity. Has been designed to have the support of industrial partners. So remember, those are tremendous opportunities that are in the local ecosystem, accessible from many points of view, and everyone should be thinking of taking one of those classes.
Can we join from outside Ireland, France, or work remotely? So there are women in AI chapters in many European countries. So, we will definitely recommend you reach out to them. However, having said that, if there's something that interests you and you can't find locally, we are not going to turn anybody away. If it's reasonable, if it's online, right? If it's a physical event or program, that's a different story.
Yeah, and even for this partnership that we have with AI for EU, yeah. This is a European project trial. So we will have the first online class available for everyone. Thank you, Skillnet, for having us here and giving us this platform to talk about women in AI and that the issue with biased and unrepresented women in technology and around the AI technology in particular. But beyond our own webinar, there is a series of webinars from ICT Skillnet that you can find online. The next live session will be on June 23rd, same time, 2 p.m. with Julie Murphy. So it was our pleasure. We were highly honored to receive this invite from ICT Skillnet. It has been a pleasure to work with ICT Skillnet for the past few years. And I really hope this is a stepping stone towards something important that is about to come.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this webinar, please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to be kept up to date with all our news, events and programs. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this one.